All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo'S Wrestling Room, Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzalez, joined by Tony Gonzalez. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Not too bad.
And we have special guest pro wrestler Tommy Gage with us tonight. How you doing, Tommy?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Going pretty well. Hanging in there. Okay, Tommy, we'll get this started. Where are you from?
Originally from Jacksonville, North Carolina. So the hometown I used my entire career is actually my shoot hometown. Now I live in a very small town in northern Indiana.
How long have you lived there?
Here, right around 11 years.
Okay. How long have you been a professional wrestler?
Since 2004.
2004. So almost 20 years.
Almost.
What got you into pro wrestling?
I think my story is the same as every other person who got into the business. You grew up watching it. For me, I had a grandfather that was really big into it. Spent a lot of Saturday mornings, at his house on the living room floor, listening to him call it grunt and groan. And from there, I just fell in love with it.
Who trained you to be a pro wrestler?
I was trained out of CWF in Lafayette by Guy Lombardo and Sean Cook. Billy Rock took part in my training. PT Hustler took part in my training. Kenny Courageous took a big part in my training.
What was the hardest thing for you to learn in pro wrestling?
Honestly, it was probably transitioning over from amateur wrestling and MMA to professional wrestling. It was hard. How do you transition that?
Did you do a lot of amateur wrestling?
Yeah, ever since I was 12.
So did you wrestle in high school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wrestled in high school, AAU, the military, learned Russian Sambo, did MMA, left at MMA 8-0, went to school to be a pro wrestler. And I mean, there's not a part of my life since the time I was 12 that there's not been some sort of wrestling involved with it.
The MMA you done, was that here in Indiana, or did you fight in other states? Or
I did some in the military. I had a couple of fights here, but it was nothing. It wasn't any huge events or anything. It wasn't UFC.
Do you think your amateur wrestling transitioned into the MMA more than what it did pro wrestling, or easier than pro wrestling?
Oh yeah, and that was during a time when MMA wasn't really a mixed martial arts, right? You just had the different disciplines. Now it's a completely different game where these guys know everything. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, back then you had a boxer against a wrestler or a karate guy against a boxer. Now, like you said, everybody knows multiple different disciplines now. And
when I first started watching, there wasn't even weight classes.
Oh.
When I first started watching UFC, there was no weight class.
No. They had to change it. It would have never got as big as it was now.
Yeah, it evolved. I mean, that sport really evolved.
Somebody probably would have died. And probably did. Probably just
hold on a minute. Wait. I got hurt more doing pro wrestling than I ever did MMA. Let's just get that out of the way right.
Oh, I believe it. I believe that.
There's no comparison between the two. Both. Yeah, I got hurt way more doing pro wrestling than I ever did MMA.
I just remember the first time I ever watched any UFC. I went to the video place and bought a video, and I never watched it before. And it was, I think it was Tank Abbott?
Yeah,
Tank Abbott took on a great big Samoan guy who was about 6'7", 300 pounds. And Abbott hit him with one punch, and that dude went down into convulsions. And I'm like, what am I watching? Because I had no idea, to be honest with you. I was a pro wrestling fan. I'd never seen any UFC. I heard about it, but I never seen any of it. And I'm like, what am I watching? I mean, I never had seen anything like that before.
I remember, and that's when I started watching. I've been watching MMA since then.
Yeah.
But do you think pro wrestling was the harder transition, though?
Yeah, I think so. I do. It's it's an entirely different discipline. You can implement things that you've done, into pro wrestling from those other things, but I mean, an overall transition, it's tough. You look at guys who worked in the WWE who did it. I mean, look, Dan Severn actually was pretty good at it. Shamrock had a hard time with that transition, I think.
Yep.
He was good, but I don't think he could control his temper.
No, well, everything you read says he was a hothead.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite wrestling move that you liked growing up that other wrestlers did? And also, did you have a favorite move that you did? And any moves that you just hated? Like, I mean, why are they doing this?
I'll tell you what I thought was cool, and it's mostly because I really liked him, is the Garvin Stomp. I love the Garvin Stomp. The psychology behind the Garvin Stomp. I loved Ronnie Garvin. Ronnie Garvin was probably one of my biggest influences. The dude just went to the ring, whipped your ass, and then left. He didn't need to talk smack, and if he did, it didn't last forever. You know what I mean? My favorite move, well, it's probably my finisher, honestly. I love that one. Moves. Okay, so here's a little bit of trivia for you. One thing you will never watch me do, or never watch me take, is a back body drop. I won't do it. I understand the importance of them, but not for me. And it's more me than not trusting the other person. I'll take anything else. You can hit me with a superplex. I don't care. I'm not taking a back body drop.
Yeah, to me, that's one of the moves I've always thought. Just there's so much that could go wrong on one of those moves.
Most definitely.
I mean, you're just taking a guy and flipping him in the air. I mean, you can land so many different ways.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice that you've been given by somebody in the wrestling business?
Listen. You go through training. Like for me, my training, we trained for a couple hours twice a week. And we weren't even supposed to be able to wrestle a match for a year. And we were under contract, and, we had to have permission from our trainers to go anywhere else. I got really lucky and hooked up with PT Hustler. He and I at the time were living in the same town, went to the same gym. I'd just never seen him. And we went down and got one of Don Basher's rings from Indianapolis and took it and put it up in that gym. I learned to listen real quick. There were people in the class that I was in who didn't, but for me, it was always listen. And the advice was there, the experience was there, and they were more than willing to share it. A lot of people didn't listen. Listen in the locker room, figure out the culture. Ultimately, when you're in the ring with somebody, you're putting your life in their hands, and that sounds cliche, but it's 100% true. If you're not listening to what they're telling you, if you're not listening to the veterans, if you're not listening to the guys, that you're aspiring to be like, you're just going to fail.
Best piece of advice you've been given in life?
Oh, in life?
Yes.
I was raised in a pretty religious family, right? Like we were, it was kind of strict. And one thing that was always pressured on us kids was treat people like you want to be treated. And in the wrestling business, that's no different. I'm still very old school in my beliefs. You go through the locker room, you shake everybody's hands. You get there, you help set up, you help tear down. Just treat people like you want to be treated. And I almost think that's a dead art in this world now. I really do.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you might be right. What do you think in your opinion, the biggest mistakes young wrestlers make today?
Trying to go too far, too fast. I mean, it's, training is different, I think, now than what it was when I went through it. When I went through it again, we had to go an entire year before we could wrestle our first match. I think that there's a propensity to get people through training in 2 weeks, and they think they're ready for the main event after 2 weeks of half-assed training. It's garbage.
Do you think it still should be a year, or do you think maybe?
I think it depends on. I think it depends on who's training you. I think it depends on how willing you are to learn, how hard you're working. I mean, it's
So it could vary. It could vary between person and person.
yeah, everybody learns different. I mean, again, my background's not the same as really anybody else that was in my training class. You have people from all the different walks of life, right? Like I had spent years as an athlete. There were people in that class that didn't. We all learned different. We all had different things that we were having problems with. I won't name any names. I would love to, though. I won't name any names, but we had one guy in the class that had 2 left feet. And even now, I've seen some of his work recently, and he still has 2 left feet. I'll tell you guys off the air who it is if you want. You'll really laugh.
This was a question that came to me last night, and what's on you guys' in particular? What's on your mind when you're in the ring? What goes through your mind? Is it fan reaction? Is it the promo you maybe get ready to do? Is it the moves? What's it?
I think it depends on what stage of your career you're at. One thing that was kind of the same for me all the way through, right, from beginning to what's coming up to be the end. I would hear the fans on the way to the ring. I would hear the fans when I got in the ring. I never heard the fans during the match. Not once can I ever remember, well, maybe once, remember really hearing the fans. I think for me, I always got tunnel vision. I was paying attention to what was going on. I mean, I'm not a big sit down and talk out every move guy. I walk and talk. We could call it, I'm a bust kayfabe all the hell on this. We can call opening double down finish, but everything else we're going to wing it. And then after a while, you're in the ring with just absolutely amazing people that you may have worked 20 times. You don't even have to talk about it. You just go do it. It's not that I didn't appreciate the fans. The fans are the reason I did it for as long as I did. Sure as hell wasn't the money. It wasn't, anything for any kind of fame or anything like. I enjoyed the work, but I did it for as long as I did because of the fans. It's that connection is what made it worth it. So for me to say I didn't hear him when I was in the ring, I feel like an ass for it. But that was my thing. I had tunnel vision.
And I'm sure everybody's different. I mean, everybody's experience is different. Yeah.
Holden Hareen asked if you have a favorite opponent.
Oh, still my question.
A favorite opponent. I've had some good ones.
You can give more than one.
I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. I will tell you that I had probably some of the most fun I've ever had with the 2 guys I'm wrestling on the 25th. Mike King and Vinny Bichetti. Those are absolutely brutal matches. Absolutely. But I have wrestled those cats everywhere. There wasn't a Fed that I worked for where they didn't show up. And it was the same for them. They couldn't go win a title without me coming to take it a month later. But just some of it's true though. Some of the storylines that I was involved in, I mean, I remember nights in Indianapolis where Mike King had to have a police escort to his car. That's how serious it got. I remember, I'm serious. I remember during I don't remember what year it was. Whatever the year was, I broke my ribs. I know that don't help you guys. I remember a storyline we were doing that involved my wife, my real life wife. We weren't married at the time. But he ended up, I broke some ribs, had to take some time off. He ended up beating me. He got her contract. And this dude was dragging her around by the hair. like literally dragging her around by the hair. He'd dress her up all goofy. I have the pictures. It's absolutely awesome. They literally, they had to have police escorts to get him out of the building. But the matches were always fun. And it was great because those guys were so willing to work. I mean, they don't take days off. This match on the 25th, it's gonna be brutal. You don't work matches against Vinny Bichetti and Mike King and not need a whole bottle of ibuprofen the next day to get out of bed. But that's fun.
I agree. I've seen just watching some of the wars that we've seen Mike in and Vinny.
And
both of them.
I've seen some of the body shots Vinny gives. So
Vinny gives some heavy body shots.
Oh, he does. He does. He gets them back.
Do you have a favorite storyline?
Oh, that would definitely be the one where Mike King won my wife's contract.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, oh man. That thing went for about a year. And it was, I mean, it was hot. It was real hot. I've joked before that the loudest pop I ever got for that company was when I was laid up at home just because they played my music and I wasn't there. And it's true. I've seen the video. It's amazing. Just because they wanted me to kick his ass so bad.
You want to ask that one?
Yeah, we can do that.
We got a question here from Scottish Tiger.
Mm-hmm. That's my dude right there.
Okay, what's your favorite type of match?
I like the hardcore matches, right? Those are fun. Those are a good time. I'm not talking about light tubes and all that shit. I am not a death match fan at all. Much respect to the people who are and that do it. It's just not for me. But a good hardcore match or falls count anywhere or no disqualification, those are a good time.
Yeah, I don't know about those light tubes.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned that storyline you was in was over a year. I think that's one of the biggest things. I'm sure in independent wrestling, I know wrestling on TV because I watch everything. It's really sorely missing is the storylines. Not near enough storylines, not enough feuds.
I think
storylines.
I think that you're talking about there's not enough storylines on the indies. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's some on the indies. I don't know if there's as many now as there was maybe a few years ago.
I think that you have to give them something to remember. First off, it's up to the fans to remember the storyline so that you can continue them, but you have to give them a reason to remember it. Mike King dragging my wife around by the hair and dressing her up goofy made them remember it. Yeah. Those people, social media was blown up over it. They were waiting at the door every time there was a show. They were packing buildings. I mean, it was insane, absolutely insane. The thing was, we built that storyline to be that way. It's nuts. And then on the flip side of that with Vinny Bichetti and I have been beating the shit out of each other for well over 15 years. That storyline transcends companies, that transcends everything. If one of us is on the show, the other one's going to end up getting him. I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah. That storyline transcends different companies, different feds, different whatever. But that one, I mean, we stuck with it. Anytime we got a shot to kick the shit out of each other, we did it.
Because I know Marcus is out there. I want to see what he thinks. It seems like to me, and Chris, shows that we go to, because we do shows and live and stuff. It seems like most of the storylines now are lasting what? 3 months? 4 months? I mean, yeah. I know now.
Yeah, it seems like they rush them sometimes.
Yeah, I do know like Joey Owens and Mike King with DCCW. I don't think is ever going to end. It's been going on for a year now, and it's still kind of going. It's never going to end. But it's kind of, it'll be there this month, maybe not next month, but be back. Kind of like Dusty and Rick Flair. They, I don't think it ever ended. So, and I like that. But
look, that whole thing can stop, right? It could stop and take like a 2-year break, and then they could just pick up right where they took off.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good storytelling. That's how you set up for longevity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With Mike King and I, it's the same way. With Benny Bichetti and I, it's the same way. And then there were some other people I worked that, we could do the same thing. Kenny Courageous could come out of retirement right now. We could get right back in the ring and pick right up where we left off. And people are going to remember it. We made it memorable.
I think that's a good point. Is you got to make it, like he's saying, it has to be memorable, because if not, when you see it 2 months later on a card, you're not invested in it.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not okay, if you are not there, and this is something else I've noticed that's changing in wrestling. If you are not there to get a fan reaction, to bring them into that world, they're not going to remember you. Nobody gives a shit about high spots. We've seen them all. Work a solid match, get the fans involved. That's why they'll put their asses back in the seats.
Marcus says storylines are rushed and brief.
Yeah. Well, look, Marcus Fine is a
Gage
Marcus Fine
War
is
has gone.
Marcus Fine is a friggin' wrestling genius, so whatever he says is gospel.
Well, he went to 69 independent shows last year. I think me and Chris hit about 35. The ones that we broadcast and everything. And so I mean, Marcus would know. He's everywhere. Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. He goes everywhere. So
Marcus Fine was there for the first day of my career. I'm sure he's going to be there for the last one. Marcus Fine is a encyclopedia of knowledge. When I saw that you guys started putting him on your show, I thought that was the best move you possibly could have made.
We appreciate it. We love having Marcus on. He comes on once a week now, and then, like I said, we became good friends with him. We go out to eat and stuff. So it's been nice meeting some of the people we've met.
Great.
I'm still waiting to go fishing with him and Kelly.
You better watch out. Kelly's a shark.
They go fishing in Kentucky here in a couple weeks.
I think so. Yeah. What do you love about the wrestling business, and what's one thing you dislike about the wrestling business?
I love the fans, man. I do. I absolutely love the fans. It is a lot of fun to be able to get any kind of reaction out of the fans. I know you will, Kelly. I didn't say I would win. I'm just saying. But it's getting a fan reaction. That's the best part, man. Putting a smile on somebody's face, getting somebody to stand up out of their chair, to buy into what you're doing. That's the absolute best part of the whole thing, is getting that fan reaction. The worst part's the business side of it. Shitty promoters, garbage like that. And there are plenty of them out there. Yeah. Dealing with shitty promoters.
One thing that you would change about the business if you could?
I would change it to where some of the old school rules still apply. And I think that would be the big one. I think
what would be,
again, no offense, because they haven't been taught any different, right? But I think that the old school rules, showing up to put up a ring, shaking hands, all that stuff needs to come back. When I was still wrestling quite a bit, it was dying out, and you could see it dying out. I had conversations with a lot of guys about it dying out. Now, again, it's, people are getting rushed through training, which is not going to do them any good. And they're not learning these things because they're not being taught. All that stuff needs to come back. Don't make it so easy for somebody to walk in off the streets and just become a wrestler. Make them earn it.
You've already asked. I had this down about the favorite opponent, but I'll ask this: favorite match that you've had, or matches. It can be more than one.
Easy. That's super easy. I was talking to my oldest son about this today because he asked me about it. I worked a show, and I won't name the Fed because I don't like them. I worked a show. It was the second show of the day in a different town for a different company. And it was myself and Matt Valor against Hank Calhoun and Mike King. So the promoters gave us 5-7, which I didn't understand. It was a title match. Matt and I were champions at the time. They gave us 5-7 for this tag match. I think we went 28 minutes, but the entire time the fans were into it, super into it. I mean, that was the one time I could hear the fans, and this place it blew up. I have it on tape, and I've watched it a dozen times, and it was like the perfect storm. It was an amazing thing. I at one point during the match grabbed Matt Valor, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? We could have sat in the middle of the ring and knit sweaters, and they would have bit. It was that crazy. But that's what we wanted. That was fun for us, right? That's the reaction you want to get. Now, the reaction we ended up getting when we went back through the curtain wasn't good, but the promoters were also not all that great. They didn't understand enough of the business that if you have a crowd, you keep a crowd. These were the same promoters that would tell me, hey, you can't go up and run into the stands because you're making it too hard for other guys to get over. Not my problem, right? Again, work. Go out and work.
Did the promoter say anything to you guys for going so far over?
Oh, they were hotter than hell.
Over the time?
Yeah, they were hotter than hell. But these are the same promoters that, I mean, they'd screw you on money, tell you to, not go up into the stands. I had them tell me I couldn't drive my Jeep to the ring at an outdoor charity show one time. We were the main event. And I wanted to drive my Jeep to the ring, and they told me I couldn't do it. And I drove my Jeep to the ring. And then they said it was a great idea.
A fantasy opponent. If you could wrestle right now, anybody, dead or alive.
Troy Miller.
Troy Miller.
All day, every day, Troy Miller. But I can't say he would be the only one. There would be another one, and that's JKO. I want a JKO match before I retire, and it's just not going to happen. He and I have worked so many shows together, and we actually joked about it in locker rooms that we weren't booked against each other. We've never had an opportunity to wrestle each other.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And it's a match that I wanted for a long time. It didn't happen. But Troy Miller is one, and I told him that. No, Marcus, I've never wrestled Troy Miller. I would love to have wrestled Troy Miller. That dude, hands down, I've watched his work dozens of times. That dude is phenomenal.
Best decision you've made in your wrestling career and worst decision you made in your wrestling career?
Man, that's tough. Best decision was probably taking wrestling out of Vin's giving. Why we did that, I don't know. It was a good time, though.
I'd like to been there for one of the years that wrestling was still there, just to experience one time.
Well, when we were doing it here, and it was a lot smaller back then when we first started it, we were doing it here, and we actually had the cop show up at 3 a.m. The cop gets to the fence, and he looks over and sees the wrestling ring in the backyard, and he's like, what in the hell is going on? And we were drunk. Let's just be honest. I don't even know that we were wrestling at 3 a.m., but that worst decision was some of the second chances I gave to different promoters. That was probably one of the worst. Again, it takes something to be a promoter. First of all, you got to promote your damn show. Second of all, know what the hell you're doing. I think you should have some road time in, right? Go work for other feds. Get, at least be a wrestler first, right? These guys get their tax check, spend $2,500 on high spots and get a ring. And all of a sudden they're Vince McMahon. It just.
Have you Have you ever promoted a show?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I did. I ran Goodland, and we sold out every time, but it just got to be where it was too much for me at the time. I couldn't wrestle as much as I wanted to and promote a show. So it was just, I mean, all my people got paid and they were paid well. Everything was always taken care of. We did a lot of charity stuff. It just got to be too much.
I think one thing I see nowadays with promoters is they just want to rely on throwing it on social media and hoping that people see it.
I worked the show one time in front of 3 people. There was like 40 wrestlers and 3 paying fans. I went out and worked the match, right? I don't care if it's 3 or 3,000. It doesn't matter. You go out and you work. But that promoter didn't do anything. I don't even know that he put it on social media. He may have hung a flyer on the armory door. I don't know. But yeah, they don't promote anymore. They rely too much on social media.
And there's so many shows, at least right now. I don't know how it was necessarily, 10 years ago or something, but like I know you guys got the show coming up the 25th. I know that there's probably 5 or 6 shows in Indiana, maybe more on the 25th. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of shows. You got to go out there and promote or
Is there what 12 shows last week?
Yeah, 12 shows last week.
So and when I started, man, there was maybe a handful of like real companies in the state, right? That were reputable.
Yeah.
And again, now it's just a thing where anybody that can buy a ring can be a promoter. Yeah. But there are some good companies in the state. I mean, there really are that are well run, that treat their talent right, that don't get caught up in dumb shit. There are some good ones. And funny enough, I mean, most of them are the ones that were around when I was starting.
Yeah, I know me and Chris feel very fortunate that kind of by accident got hooked up with Mike King and Terry, DCCW, and Joey Owens with WCW.
I'm going to tell you now, if you feel fortunate to get hooked up with Mike King, I mean...
It's not fortunate to ride in a car with him when he's driving.
It's like being fortunate to, slam your fingers in a damn car door.
He's watching videos while he's trying to drive. That's
dude. Hold on.
Hey, he about killed me and you that one night.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You know how him and Vincenzo went out to Colorado, right? I was asked to go on that trip and I didn't do it. Now, the reason I didn't do it, one, I didn't want to be away from home that long. The other reason was I've ridden with Mike King. I drove to Colorado with Mike King. I almost shot Mike King about halfway through Iowa. Dude's an idiot. He is a straight up idiot when it comes to driving. Yeah. He is absolutely horrible.
Yeah. I can't argue that.
I'll be right. We were coming. Where was? Oh, we went to Portland for that fundraiser before the invasion last year. Me, you, and him. And he was. I think it was actually. I think he was showing me that match that you were talking about earlier. And he had it playing. He had it playing on his phone. He was paying no attention. I thought for sure we was going right off the road. I like.
I've seen him. Yeah, when we was.
Oh my God,
Jeffersonville.
You know what? And I'm sure there's video of it somewhere. I'd have to find it of him trying to catch an elk.
Trying to catch an elk.
Trying to catch an elk in Colorado. I'm not even joking about this. This is serious. The dude's a moron.
Are you? You think it's fitting that having your last match with Mike and Vinny?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Again, that's. I can't imagine a better way to go out than the way I'm going out. I can't. Jared Bird and John Richard Hoffman are 2 of my absolute dearest friends. I love those guys with all of my heart. Robert Scheidler would do anything for John Richard Hoffman and G.W.R. Tommy Gage just wants to destroy Benny Bichetti and Mike King. When you put the boots on, it's something entirely different. It is I sincerely hate those guys when the boots go on. I told you I'm going to break the shit out of kayfabe. Those two guys are my youngest son's godparents. That's how much I love John Richard Hoffman and G.W.R.
Did you meet them? Did you meet them in the wrestling business?
I did.
Or did you know them before you got in the wrestling business?
No, I met him in the wrestling business, which is, that's one of the cool things that you get out of the wrestling business. I can't ask for anything else from the business. I can't. I ended up with my wife. We just had our 11th anniversary. I ended up with my son, who's a godsend. He's an amazing child, who just is completely enamored with the sport of professional wrestling. I got way more out of the business than winning titles or anything like that. I ended up with some of the absolute best friends I've ever had.
The bad thing is, I could read that where she said I have a picture of him hanging out the window yelling at it.
That's 100% fact.
Bad thing is, I can picture that.
The biggest mistake we made, right, during this entire, one was letting him drive because we know he sucks. The other one was introducing him to Pokemon Go, because this stupid son of a bitch was driving around with his phone in his hand, cutting in and out of traffic because he saw some shit he wanted to go catch. He literally almost killed us.
I believe it. We rode to Jeffersonville. Was it Jeffersonville? Yeah, Jeffersonville. Back with them, but that was
Kokomo.
That was
in Jeffersonville, but the Kokomo. Yeah,
it was always an interesting trip if you going on the road with bike.
Oh my God, what's even funnier is the first thing I asked when those two dipshits went out to Colorado is if they were driving, because Benny had never had the experience of driving any amount of time with Mike King, and they told me they were flying, and I'm like, Benny, don't let him drive when you get out there. He let him drive when they got out there. So then he hits me up when they get back, and he's like, oh, that son of a bitch almost killed us like this and this. I told you. You're stupid. You don't listen.
I warned you. You still let him drive.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Like I said, we've been doing this now for, it'll be 2 years, probably in August.
You guys do a great job. You really do. I watch your stuff. It's good.
I appreciate it. And but I didn't really know. Well, I'd met Jared, really didn't know him. We met him. He come did a show at the Ross Community Center that we was a part of when he was with Jason Maples, probably 2009, 2008. I don't remember exactly what year. I'm getting old. But,
probably 7 or 8.
Yeah, it could have been 7 or 8.
Because they done a birthday party for my son.
Yeah. My grandson actually pinned Mike King. But anyway,
that's not hard.
Yeah, but being completely serious, Jared is speaking of G.W.R. Just here just knowing him the last couple of years that we met because of the wrestling business has just been phenomenal to us. And some things we won't say that he did because he don't want us to say. Just we can't think any higher of him.
Oh no.
Same thing with JKO, just been super to us, and there's so much respect for JKO. Same thing with the Fines. We met them through pro wrestling. Holden, met Holden, become friends with Holden Hareen. I mean, we've just met so many people, and there's others too. TJ Kemp has been super great to us. Vinny's another one that I haven't known.
Vinny's a dick. Let's just be Vinny's a dick. It don't matter which version of him he's a dick.
But we just met so many great people, man, and very fortunate.
Well, we've been fortunate. We haven't really went to many bad promotions. We've been lucky there.
Marcus, we've been to one. We all know who it is. We're not going to say who it is.
We've
Marcus.
But a lot of that's because of back to JKO and Jared, because we go most of the places where we'll talk to them. Hey, we've been contacted. Is this somewhere we want to be involved with or not? Or I mean, there's some places you don't want to go.
I
didn't know. You know what I mean?
I've been I've been kind of doing some consulting work with Scott Hewitt with Heated Shenanigans, and kind of telling him the same thing, you know, and Jared's helping him too. So, you know, we can only tell you, really. There's some good ones out there. I mean, I would like to say that there's more good ones than bad ones, but man, you find the bad ones, you know it pretty damn quick.
It's just like in life. There's good people and there's bad people.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
That's just the way. It's just the way it is, and some people may not be necessarily bad, but they may have their own agenda, and you may not just want to be a part of that agenda. So you know, it's just not putting anybody down. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I agree. But no, back to your original question. You know, wrestling against those two in my final, that's the way the story should end, really. And then one thing you guys haven't even touched on yet is my partner for that night. There we go.
Yes.
Canadian legend BMD. I'm going to tell you guys right now, he is not a DCCW find. He's a Tommy Gage find. I am very much looking forward to tagging with BMD against those two. If you've not had a chance to watch any of BMD's work, let me back up a little bit, and I'll tell you how I discovered BMD. I discovered BMD. I was watching on Twitch. I was watching an Evil Uno, excuse me, an Evil Uno stream, and he rated this guy BMD. I was immediately entertained. That guy is a phenomenal streamer. After watching him for a little while, there was some mention made that he had done some professional wrestling. So me being me, I wanted to see it. So I looked him up on YouTube, and I watched several of his matches. He reminds me so much of me when I first started. His style is, I mean, he's got a versatile style. Dude is absolutely fantastic to watch. He's very entertaining in the ring. His gimmick is phenomenal. My son, my youngest boy, who's a huge wrestling fan, absolutely loves him. We've been watching him stream for well over a year now. The family has. He's very much looking forward to coming to Muncie and working this match. If you've not had a chance to see his work, I highly recommend you see his work. If you have Twitch, go to Twitch and add him, BMD Bud. I'm telling you right now, the dude is super entertaining. I can't remember the last time I worked a tag match, and I've worked with some pretty amazing partners. I'm looking forward to this one probably more than I've ever looked forward to any tag match. Partially because of who the opponents are, and partially because of who my partner is. The guy's got a fan following that is rabid. They're very loyal. They're very dedicated. The Buds are, which is what he calls them, the Buds are rabid. We've actually got some that are coming from 6 and 9 hours away just to come to Muncie to see him work.
And that's awesome.
But yeah, so if we got one that's catering the locker room. So I mean, he's got an outstanding fan following, but that's not why I picked him. I picked him because of his work. Again, if you've not seen him, you might want to. I think it's going to be an outstanding match.
You said BMD Bud?
Yep, that's his Twitch handle. You can find him. I think that's his Twitter handle and Instagram handle too. He doesn't do the Book of Face. But yeah, Scottish Tiger that's in the comments, that's one of the Buds.
Does he do anything on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, too. Subscribe to that damn thing.
Is that BMD Bud as well?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. It may just be BMD. I know there was one that he couldn't get the name of.
Okay.
You're
I'll definitely check it out because
I will too.
Dude, I'm telling you. He's got, stuff from his stream on there. He's got some of his wrestling matches on there. He's wrestled some who's who of wrestling, but I mean, dude's solid. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I like seeing some video on guys before we get to see them live. Anyway, so it'd be nice.
And just real quick, I know there's some of the buds here, and I just want to pass along. Fuck you, Topher. Scottish, make sure you let him know I said that.
He said yes, BMD Bud and BMD Games. BMD Games. I'll write that down too.
Do you have a toughest match that you ever been in, and also the easiest match? Which you may already said the easiest match, because you kind of said that one match here earlier. Tag team match was just one of the easiest matches you've ever been in.
Yeah, it was amazing. The toughest match I've ever been in. Try and keep up with Sean Casey. That was probably, that dude's got a gas tank for an hour. I mean, he's unreal. And I would assume Troy Miller would be the same way. I would definitely have to up my cardio and eat my Wheaties that morning. As far as getting beat on, I don't care. I've been beat on before. It doesn't matter. Running out of gas is the absolute worst. It's horrible.
You're Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers.
Indies or not indies?
You can do both.
It's not. I don't think it would be many of the ones that are normally picked. Again, I'm an old NWA, AWA guy, right? Ronnie Garvin's definitely on there. I just his psychology.
So he's gonna have a lot of music.
I'm a big Garvin fan, also.
Man, I love Ronnie Garvin. I wish I missed an opportunity to meet him a few years back, and I kicked the shit out of myself for that one. Jake Roberts, his psychology, unbelievable. I wrote a college thesis paper on his psychology and got an A on it. I mean, that dude, his psychology was amazing. His in-ring work was decent, but it was never about his in-ring work to me. It was his psychology. I think Steamboat. I never saw a bad Ricky Steamboat match, like ever. I've never seen a bad Steamboat match.
Well, he wrestled 3 or 4 months ago and still look good.
Yeah, I've seen him on
what is he like, 84 now?
I think he's 67. He hadn't missed a step. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, he's amazing. Who would my fourth one be? You know what? I'll go with somebody a little more recent. Probably Austin. Really, that dude changed. He made being a tweener cool, right? I should thank him for that, really, because I never, I worked as a face forever, and then they tried me as a heel for about 5 minutes and realized that wasn't going to work. So I just started working tweener, and he made that cool. So he's got to go on there for me.
Mike.
No, I'm a big Austin fan as well.
Yep.
The dude changed the game. I mean, he really did. He completely changed the game.
And he's still doing all kinds of stuff. I just saw he's getting ready to start another TV show. It's like
I saw that.
Always doing something.
I saw that.
Did you have one for indie wrestling?
A Mount Rushmore for indies?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm throwing Troy Miller on there. I'm throwing JKO on there. I'm throwing Jake Oman on there. Jake Oman should have been called up years ago. I'm going to tell you right now, that dude has been good longer than I've been wrestling, probably. He's absolutely phenomenal, and I've told him that, and he thought I was bullshitting him, and I'm like, no, seriously. Jake Oman, he should have been called up. I think as far as indie wrestling goes, that dude's phenomenal. I'll put – let's see who else. I'm going to put Kenny Courageous on there. I've never seen Kenny Courageous have a bad match, ever. Not in my life. He worked me my first professional wrestling match. He's got to go on my Mount Rushmore. That dude's phenomenal. I just don't understand. I mean, I wish he was still doing it. I really do.
Me and Dad's had conversations about how why Jake Oman or how Jake Oman hasn't been at the top level, because I agree, he definitely should be.
Yeah, he should have been called up years ago.
And we've also got a chance to see him train, and I'll tell you what, he's really good at that as well.
Mm-hmm. Got to see him train, run a training session for wrestlers, and then I've got to see wrestlers that he's trained work on a lot of the shows that we do, and you can tell a difference in the people he's training compared to some of the other people. And I'm not putting nobody down. I'm just being honest.
And honestly, look at the work he's put in. Look at his body of work. Look at all the things he's done to make himself better. The guy he should have been called up years ago. I just don't get it.
Over 20 something countries. And I mean,
and he's got a good look. He's got a gimmick. I mean, he's
been in some of the best independent matches.
Motherfucker! Oh, what are you doing?
I hit the wrong button. I leaned over to hit a button. Whoa. That's what I was trying to say, but no.
I was going to say, I need that ringtone. I need that.
I don't even know what I was saying now. No, he's been in some of the best matches that all the shows we've been going and doing. Some of the best matches I've seen are matches that Jake Oman's been one of the competitors in.
Yeah, without a doubt. I watched some of his overseas stuff, man. That guy.
Him and IK3 kicked off that that DCCW show in Portland that had Mick Foley on it. And
yeah, let's talk about that kid for a minute. That kid is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've gotten to see some of his work. His daddy needs to be proud, really, because IK3 is unbelievable to watch.
Yeah.
Wow. Just friggin' wow.
Yep. Yeah, Dad knows this. He's one of my favorites. I'll go ahead and come out and say he's been one of my favorites that we've seen since we started doing this. And I mean, I've never seen him in a bad match. I've seen him against a bunch of people. But him and Oman that day, they set the standard high to kick off that show.
Oh yeah, they did.
Well, let's talk about another one from down there. I finally got a chance to see live. I went to a show up north. Was Rachel Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rachel Armstrong is really, really good. Yes. I mean, I was super impressed. I had heard really good things, and finally had an opportunity to see her live, and that kid can go. She's got a really good future ahead of her too.
We got to see her. I think what was her third match? The first time we saw her, and then from then to now, it was a totally different competitor, and she's getting and she's putting in the time and going everywhere. I mean, she's putting in last weekend. West Virginia this weekend.
She's putting in miles, man. She's doing the work. I messaged when I saw her live. I messaged JKO and told him exactly what I thought. That kid's a blue chipper.
Yeah, I agree 100%. She's phenomenal.
Tell you what, JKO has a good group of talent down there.
A guy I work with went to the Bearcat Rumble, and he went there to see, Carlito was there and Primo, Epico, and some of them guys. But all he could talk about after seeing the show was Rachel Armstrong.
And it's deserved. That kid is.
Yeah, she done that 450. She done that 450 splash off the top, and that's all I got. I talked about.
He still talks to me. He asked me about every month, what's going on with her. I told her she's been going all over the place, and he's just thrilled. I mean, he's
been on billboards there in West Virginia.
Well, she was at a Walmart at West Virginia yesterday.
Yep, doing meet and greet at Walmart in West Virginia yesterday. Rachel was.
Yeah, you're going to see her on TV real soon.
Well, that's what Marcus was saying Monday. Remember, because he said he told Kelly, he goes, I got to get one more picture with her before that's not going to be an option anymore because she's going to be gone.
Yeah. It's going to happen. That kid is really good.
I wanted to ask you this: do you have any hobbies? I know you're real busy, but I don't know if you have any time for hobbies.
Oh, I play guitar a little bit.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite kind of music?
The shit I write.
Well, would that be classified jazz, country, rock?
Well, it's more country than anything else. Again, I am a redneck, like legit redneck. But yeah, I kind of picked it up when I stopped wrestling. The retirement match should have happened, a couple of years ago, but we had this whole pandemic thing that screwed everything up. So when I really thought I was done, I picked up guitar, and it's a kind of a family thing. My grandmother was very, very good at guitar. Just absolutely amazing. So I kind of picked it up and have been learning and have gotten a little better. I've wrote a few songs. I enjoy that a lot of, because I retired from my shoot job. I actually had enough years in to retire back in August of last year. So I've had, I've been able to do a lot of stuff with the kids that I had struggled to do. I won't say I didn't do them. I struggled to do them when I was working the job I had. So a lot of stuff now is I coach soccer. If you can imagine.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook that you was coaching soccer.
Dude, that is the most fun I think I've ever had. That it was an absolute blast. I do that. Run my kids to the doctor, deal with school stuff. I've recently started working at a restaurant here in town. They gave me control of the menu. So I'm cooking a lot of my own stuff, and you've had some of it. I mean, you've been to Vince-Giving,
Yep.
I'm getting ready to start my own catering business. I mean, I'm having fun, having a good time. And then and I'm going to go ahead and break this for you. I was told I could. A few months back, I'll back up even farther because I do want to talk about somebody real quick. A few years ago, I was approached by Rob Kincaid. Me and Robbie go way back. And I miss him. I miss Robbie a lot. But he had talked to me because at the time he was running the Indiana Hall of Fame, the Indiana Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And he had told me that he wanted me to go in. First off, I had a career, right? It was a good career. I had fun. I don't know that I belong in that conversation, and I mean that sincerely. I didn't think I belonged in that conversation. And I was very open with Robbie about it. And then tragically, we lost Robbie, and I just figured that, it wasn't going to happen. And then a few months ago, the people running it now reached out to me again. So on March 24th, and again, I got permission. On March 24th, I've been informed that I will be going into the Indiana Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's a huge honor. I'm not going to give any of the other names that I've been given. I will tell you that I look at that list of names, and there are some of them that I have wrestled against, and there are some of them that I wished I had wrestled against. And that is it's a very quality class. And again, I just don't feel my name belongs in that list. I'm glad somebody does. But yeah, I mean, it's an honor, and I'm completely honored. And I don't even know what else to say about it other than.
That's why I hadn't brought it up, because I wasn't for sure if it had been announced yet or not. So,
well, we're very honored. We're going to be there to cover it.
So. Yeah, we're going to be covering it live that night.
Oh, great! Well. So I'll get to see you guys then.
Yep.
That's
we'll be
awesome.
there live covering it and streaming it out there for everybody. So.
We'll be there the 24th and the 25th.
Yep.
Oh, me too.
He had told us what 3 names, or not us, but he announced on that
announced
stream,
3
on
names,
his thing. He announced 3,
and he told us some other names,
and told us. So I knew about that you were going in, but I didn't know if he had announced it officially. That's why I hadn't said anything. But congratulations on that.
Yes,
I appreciate it, guys. I sincerely do. It's, again, not something I ever. It wasn't an expectation. It wasn't something that I was working for. Right. It just. I think that's probably what makes it more special, is that it's just something that kind of happened organically. And again, I miss Robbie. I wish it would have happened then under him. Yeah, it is a huge loss. Can I tell a Rob Kincaid story?
Yes. Go
ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So my wife can verify this. Okay, she was there. We were dating at the time, I think. So I was working a triple shot, and ended up in Indianapolis one night, and Robbie lived in Indy. And he's like, Tommy, you don't have to drive. You can come stay at my house, whatever. So Allie and I ended up going to Robbie's house. I didn't know at the time, Robbie was like the world's biggest Michael Jackson fan. Like, his walls were covered with Michael Jackson stuff. Super proud of it, right? So in the living room, you know how most people will put like a family portrait up and they'll have the stuff around it. And it was literally a picture of Michael Jackson. He showed me his room, his entire bedroom from ceiling to floor was all Michael Jackson stuff. I'm not here to judge. I don't care, right? So it was super early that next morning, and Allie and I got up and we went ahead and cut out. So a few weeks later, it was kind of the same thing, another triple shot, and Robbie's like, "Oh, Tommy, you can stay at the house. Don't even worry about it." Cool. I was prepared for it this time. So after he went to sleep that night, because he was in his room, Allie and I were on the couch in the living room. We got up. I pulled a framed picture of me, one of my wrestling photos, out of my bag, took the Michael Jackson picture down off the wall, slid it under the couch, and hung my picture there. It took him 3 days to realize it. And he called me 3 days later, madder than hell. He was so pissed off about it.
Well, then where's Michael Jackson picture with?
Where's my Michael? Come on, dude. I never did get the picture of me back, though. Probably sold it on eBay. But I do miss Robbie. Robbie's one of those guys that when I first got in the business, he had already been wrestling for a hot minute. And again, I don't like to bad talk people, but I will. The people that trained me weren't big fans of Rob. And our entire class was basically, Warren never worked this guy. And I ended up at Top Notch in Indianapolis was the first time I ever worked him. And, the whole time I'm thinking, oh, this guy's going to break my leg. What's going to happen? I have never had an easier match than working Rob Kincaid, ever. That dude, super simple to wrestle. Was very gracious. As green as I was, he took really good care of Valor and I. Just an absolutely phenomenal human being. Had his demons. We all got demons. But again, I miss him.
Why do you think he had that reputation? Because of his demons or politics? Or?
No, it's politics. It's all politics. Look, and here's the thing, and it's really funny, but it's true. Like, it was especially true when I started. You had the northern part of the state and the southern part of the state, and they didn't mix. You had different talent for both parts of the state. You didn't see northern guys go to the south or southern guys go to the north, which is why nobody ever saw like a Mike King versus a Kenny Courageous until I did it. I ran a show in Burnettsville, and I put those two together because I wanted to see it. And I was right. It was an amazing match. But I think a lot of it just different parts. I mean, matches were called different. It was just two entirely different styles of wrestling, really. And I just think that one thought they were better than the other. So the guys that trained me, they were not Rob Kincaid fans. It's garbage. It's all garbage. I worked both sides of the state, and I've met some of the best and worst people in the business on both sides of it. It's all garbage. Never take somebody's word for somebody. Just go figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know what the person is telling you is what their intentions or why.
And I got that lesson early. So I was very thankful for it. And I had heard stuff about other people too. I had heard the same shit about Vinny Vachetti. I had heard the same shit about, Mike King. No.
Do you think that's because were them the guys that were like putting miles in and going out and maybe starting to have a little bit of success? Could that have something to do with it?
I'm sure that probably played into it a little bit. It's garbage. It's just junior high bullshit drama is all it is. Go work.
But like when you were wrestling a lot, how were the locker rooms? Did you guys get along, or was there was it more of a, I don't know, was there like cliques in the locker room, or how did that work out?
Yeah, but I don't think it's as bad as now, because back then we had really good veterans. I cut my teeth on the Van Zants, and I cut my teeth on Locked and Loaded, and I cut my teeth on the High Rollers, and TJ Powers and Austin James were absolutely phenomenal to work with. If you had those guys in the locker room, you didn't have that bullshit. And the Simply Marvelouses, those guys were, you had the locker room leadership back then. And I think a lot of the locker rooms that I was in towards the end, you really didn't have that.
Yeah, most of the places we go now, most of them are pretty young. Honestly, you got maybe one or two veterans, but yeah, most of the locker rooms seem pretty young.
Yeah. That's why when he said they had a lot of veterans, that's the first thing I thought of. It don't seem like there's a lot of veterans right now in a lot of the locker rooms.
I'd say we haven't been to a few places, but the ones we go to, I'd say WCWO's probably got about the most veterans. Still, they got a lot of young people too, but they have TJ Powers and Vinny, and they probably got as many as anybody.
And then like DCCW with Mike, Vinny, JKO.
Yeah.
Then you have a lot of young talent as well, but there's a mixture.
And JKO runs his locker room. He does. He is the veteran leadership.
Yep.
Even though he's too much of a chicken shit to wrestle me. I hope he's watching. JKO, you own a damn Fed. You could have booked me. Stop messaging me, telling me that you're pissed off that I'm retiring.
He could have booked you on a Friday night.
Yeah, he could have booked me on a Friday night. I'll go down and hit Applebee's after. I don't care.
Real quick, I did want to ask you, because I seen it in the comments about because you mentioned about cooking. What's your favorite food?
Oh man, I like Southern food. I do. I like cooking Southern food, and I like kind of obscure things that a lot of people maybe in this area, have never tried. And the stuff I make up here now is a lot of things that people have never tried. It's not, been had around here, but it's been cooked in my house forever, because when we travel, that's kind of one of the things we do is we hit these little mom and pop shops. We learn some recipes. We come back, we change some recipes. Oh God, Marcus. Oh God. Did you see those beans, Marcus? Did you see them? Did you guys see them?
Now, for some reason,
I think it's our internet.
Did you guys see the Vinny's beans, Chris, Tony?
I wasn't there. I was in Chicago that week.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, so let me tell you, this is the real story, right? Like Vinny will tell you it wasn't that bad. It was that bad. So at Vince-Giving, we're very particular on what gets served, and Vince-Giving is the three founding fathers is myself, Jared, and John. We don't serve any food that is not 5-star. It has to be perfect. Vinny is a absolute 5-star butcher. That guy can butcher anything. Phenomenal at it. Has no business ever cooking anything. Ever. I mean, ever. Vinny decides he's going to, oh God, he's going to hate me for this. Thanks, JKO, you bastard. So, Vinny decides he's going to cook some old family recipe, these smoked pork hock beans, right? They were gray.
Yeah, I didn't eat any of them.
Dude, I'm not joking. They were gray. That son of a bitch, and I may exaggerate just a little bit other than the color of the beans. That dude had them on and off heat for like 16 hours. Literally 16 hours. So we're getting ready to start serving food the day of Thanksgiving. And I looked at Jared and I said, I'm going to go in and look at those things. I'm telling you, he's not serving them. So I walk in the house and he's still working on these damn things, trying to doctor them, bring them back to life. They're deader than hell. And I said, Vinny, you're not serving those. Fuck you son of a bitch. I'm serving them. No, you're really not. I'm going to pick up the pan now. I'm going to take it out and chuck it in the cornfield. I'm serious. You're not serving that shit. He was convinced he was going to fix them, right? So what's it been? It's been a few months. He came up this way, and he comes up here. We always cook something, right? Well, I decided I was going to make those beans, but I was going to do it the right way. So I do a lot of stuff in cast iron. I love cooking with cast iron. So I walked over to the stove and I picked up the lid on the cast iron and I said, hey, take a bite of these. And instantly you just seen the rage in his eyes. Absolute rage in his eyes. He took a bite and I'm like, how were they, Vin? He goes, fuck you, Tommy, you son of a bitch. So yeah, and Jared will tell you the same thing. Vinny should never cook anything ever. Ever. But can butcher.
There was definitely some good food there that day.
Well, I've had some of Jared's food. Not at Thanksgiving because I was in Chicago, but a couple other times
he smoked a turkey and some other
turkeys and stuff. He can cook.
And the thing is, and it's that whole thing started with like 15 of us, and I think last year was about 200, and the year before that was about 250. So it's grown.
It was a good time.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
From what I remember, it was a great time.
Looking forward to it this year.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, Dad?
No, I think you got one story about Mike King.
Oh God.
I know there's probably 100 stories, but
I mean, I think I've told the bulk of the good ones where he almost killed me driving with him, and
oh yeah, that'll definitely happen.
He tried to catch an elk. I will say that it's never boring around him, ever. Oh, I got a good one for you. So do you guys remember when he broke his leg?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth about what happened. All right. So he was up, I believe it was South Bend. Hey, JKO, that's cute, bud. You own a company that runs every Friday. You could have contacted me anytime over the past few months to book me. I didn't see it. So anyway, I'm sitting here at the house and my phone rings and it's Jared. And he's screaming in the phone, screaming. And I'm like, dude, calm down. What's going on? I broke my leg, Tommy. I broke my leg. Do I need to come there? What's going on? Where are you at? He goes, I'm laying ringside right now. I'm like, what? He goes, I stopped the guy from breaking his neck. He broke my leg. There's no shit. So I said, do you need me to come to South Bend? He's like, I don't know. Yeah. I said, have you called your wife? No. I said, don't call your wife. I'll call her. You don't need to call her like this. So my wife and I, we leave to head to South Bend. And so I called Jared's wife. I'm like, look, I'm on my way there now. I'll let you know what's going on. So, because he had a little one little one at that time. And I was like, don't take that kid out. So I get up to the hospital in South Bend and I can hear him screaming the minute I walk through the door. Like, I have never heard anybody scream like that. So I walk in and, just kind of track the voice, right? So I get back there. I told them I'm here to see, Jared Bird. They take me back there. This dude is laying in this bed and he's got a couple people working on him, but he's like gripping the rails and screaming and like in an immense amount of pain. So these people that are working on him are trying to stabilize his leg. They both cut out when I got in there. So I walked in because I'm me, right? And I just very calmly looked at him and his leg seriously was crooked. Like, it's not supposed to bend that way. And I actually looked at him as soon as he, took a breath from screaming. And I said, I don't think I'm supposed to be bending that way, bub. Oh, fuck you, Tommy. You son of a bitch. Cool. So then, and I felt so bad for it. That dude was in so much pain. So they came in, they were going to stabilize his leg because they weren't going to do surgery that night. I literally had to lay across him, grab the rails and hold him to the bed while they stabilized his leg. It was a gnarly injury, like way bad. So I don't think I mean, just because we're doing this, I'll tell you, I would have handled it way better. I'd have just rubbed some dirt on it and got back to it. But no, it was gnarly. As bad as he tells you his leg, it was that bad. But yeah, that's messed up.
So he called you when he was laying ringside.
Yeah. I still to this day have no clue how the hell he got his phone at ringside. The EMTs were at ringside loading him up while he was calling me. It's nuts. But I've never seen anybody in that much pain. It was insane. But he fought back and rehabbed it, and he's got titanium or some shit in his leg now. I think he's technically bionic. Whatever. It ain't gonna help him the 25th.
Well, I know one thing you need to tell him. He wrestled at the Bearcat Rumble with Congo Kong, and he decided to break out the shorts, and them white legs about blinded the whole crowd.
God. Oh God. Yeah, I saw the pictures. I called him. I called him. I begged him to.
I was giving him hell. I said, if you was going to do it, you should have went without the shirt. You should have just done it all the way if you was going to do it.
And that was so bad. And I love Osiris, Congo Kong, whatever. I met him as Osiris. He'll always be Osiris to me. I love that dude. I don't know how he talked Jared into doing that. Kudos to him. Wow. I hope he leaves those at home on the 25th, because if he wears them, I'm not going to get through that match.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we got out of here, Tommy?
Just real quick, I've done a lot of, I mentioned I retired from my job last August after 15 years of it, and I was enough, right? And I worked myself into a position where I can pretty much do what I want now. But I know some of those folks they always really supported me. I never really told anybody, even in this town I live in, nobody really knows, what I've done or where I've been or any of that. I tend to be a somewhat of a private person, which is why I don't do many of these. But I do know that some of them are watching. And for those of you guys at PD7, Butler, Chrisman, Poston, I love you guys. I think about you guys every day. And you guys are always in my thoughts and prayers. But when they did find out, they were always so supportive of it. They would come to the shows. I have an inkling suspicion that they're going to show up at the next show. I'll probably cry because they meant that much to me. Those people were family to me. So I know that some of them are watching right now, and I just want to tell you guys that your boy's doing fine, and I love you guys, and I miss you.
That's awesome.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. Don't forget, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and like and follow on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at GonzoSportsRoom. We greatly appreciate that. We do have another interview tomorrow. Blake Money, right?
Yep.
That dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll have him tomorrow at 6:30.
Yeah, I've been kind of tracking him too. He's pretty damn good.
Yep.
Yes.
And then next week, who do we have?
You got it wrote down. You
I'll
just keep
forget.
adding people, and I can't.
I know. I keep adding people. Next week we have Sage Phillips at 6:30 and Jake on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we have Jake Elliott at 6:30. So we got a couple interviews next week as well.
Yep.
But don't forget, this Saturday night we'll be in Shelbyville, Indiana for New Era Wrestling. We'll be live streaming that, and then next weekend, like we were talking earlier with Tommy, on the 24th, you have the Indiana Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame here in Muncie, Indiana. I can't remember what time that starts. You remember what time that starts, Tommy?
I thought.
All I know is I'll be there, right? I have somebody who tracks my times for me now.
And then on Saturday, the 25th, Tommy will be wrestling his last match there at DCCW 5th year anniversary show. I think that starts at 6 or 5.
I think I was told that the doors will open for the Hall of Fame at 6:30. I think is what I was told.
Okay.
I think you're right. Doors open at 6:30 and it starts at 7.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And the earlier start time than normal for the most DCCW shows on Saturday. I know it was definitely different.
I think it was 5.
I want to say it started like a 5.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because now I gotta know.
Is JKO calling me out?
Oh, he say something else?
He maybe.
Let me go back to the comments. He said, "See you Friday, Tommy."
They're gonna see you Friday. Holden said 6. I don't know which one that is though.
He might.
Let's see. On the 25th, bell time is at 5. Doors open at 4 for the 5-year anniversary show for DCCW at the Muncie National Guard Armory.
I think Holden's got down 6 for the 24th.
I might be right. I'm not seeing nothing on their website about that.
Okay.
Marcus said he heard it at 7 for the Hall of Fame.
Maybe the doors open at 6 and the Hall of Fame is 7. Okay.
But we appreciate everybody watching. Let's see, today's Wednesday, so tomorrow we'll be live for the ASAP Afternoon Blitz at 1 p.m. or sports betting show at 3. Easy Money, a sports betting show. Thanks everybody for watching. Tommy, we appreciate you coming on. You're welcome to come back on anytime. And
I appreciate you guys having me, really.
Look forward to seeing you here in just a little over a week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be a good time.
But we appreciate everybody watching. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and hope everybody has a great night.